With Kudasign, paperless e-signing is a no-brainer for any business that requires legally binding signatures fast. That's because Kudasign offers everything you should expect from an electronic signature solution for just $1 per month. Kudasign cuts document turnaround time as much as 90%, thanks in part to its #1 rated mobile app. And Kudasign's secure cloud stores documents for on-demand tracking and retrieval. Get Kudasign now for just $1 per month. Go to Kudasign.com. That's Kudasign.com.
Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into First Take from Los Angeles. We are in the heart of LA Live for ESPYs week here. Staples Center right across the street. And the guys back another day. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith.
Wait, you came back?
We
thought you'd say enough of this stuff.
And you are both a handful.
Yeah.
No, you guys have been
While I'm here, she was going to come back. I don't know about you.
Oh, really?
But I'm here.
Like
anybody that's hosting this show with me, they're gonna want to come back. I'm not so sure they'll want to come back.
Well, you might not want to come back after I get through with you today.
Well, you guys were a little fired up in the meeting. I don't know. It's only day 2 for me. I'm Molly Karen, by the way, but a little feisty.
I will confess, considering the weather and the set, I'm not too anxious to go back to Bristol.
You're liking it?
I'm just saying.
I feel like I'm learning about you. Miami, Atlanta, and L.A.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm catching a pattern
You're
here.
going to learn he's not in Bristol very often.
Oh, okay. I won't put anybody's business in the streets, but I'm starting to get it here. All right, coming up, we got a busy show today. Chris Tucker from Friday. He has a new Netflix comedy. We're going to discuss that. And will Kevin Durant stay in OKC? That is coming up as well. But first, how about them Cowboys?
No.
They let DeMarco Murray, who led the league in rushing, walk. Now will they let Dez Bryant, who led the league in touchdown reception, sit? Dez Bryant is not having the franchise tag and is adamant about wanting a long-term deal from Dallas before Wednesday's 4 p.m. Eastern deadline. He tweeted this on Monday. As much as I love football on my beautiful babies, I apologize, Cowboy Nation, but I will not be there if no deal. Fact. Bold words. Would it be smart for the Cowboys to keep the franchise tag on him?
Stephen A. Smith, no, it would not be smart. But I am here to tell you that I'm going to guess at this hour, as we get close to that witching hour tomorrow, as you said, 4 o'clock Eastern, that Jerry Jones believes it would be a pretty shrewd gamble for one big reason. You know and I know, as he pointed out to Dez in that tweet, Dez loves to play the game of football. Dez loves to be around the fellas in the locker room, even on the practice field, and especially on night before games and on game days. And my fear as a Cowboy fan, born and raised, is that Jerry Jones will use Dez's love for football against him in this negotiation. That Jerry will sit back and let Dez huff and puff as he did yesterday and threaten to miss all of training camp and maybe even threaten to miss some regular season games. And Jerry will gamble that Dez's love for football will bring him back to training camp maybe for the last 2 or 3 weeks and definitely for the first game of the regular season. But I believe that Dez's pride is bigger than his love for football. We know that Dez can be over-emotional on occasion, and I believe that if Jerry leaves the tag on him, even though it is almost $13 million that he would make, that Dez's pride will get to him, he will get over-emotional, and that he will be prone in the first few weeks of the regular season to sulking and pouting and being a little bit of a distraction for a football team that I think has a good chance to not just win the NFC East, but win the Super Bowl this year. So I'm going to say, I think it's going to be way better than it was last year, now that Sean Lee is back, a guy that you continue to diss on this show.
I do not diss him. I just acknowledge the fact that the brother's always hurt.
Yeah, well,
that's all.
I think he's not going to be hurt this year.
All right.
So my bottom line is that keeping the tag on Dez will hurt the football team more than it will help the salary cap.
Skip Bayless, I agree with you in that regard. If you franchise tag Dez Bryant, it definitely will be to the detriment of the Dallas Cowboys, but it's not because you're going to use the word pout. I think that has a negative connotation. That's not something I'm going to attach to Dez Bryant in this particular case.
Wait, let me amend that.
Sure.
His heart won't be in playing football.
That's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. What I will say to you, however, is this. First of all, don't think for 1 second that he's going to cave too easily. Don't think that with Rock Nation, with Jay-Z, with Juan Perez and those brothers that are representing him, that they're not in his ear. I think that has a lot to do with why Eugene Parker is gone as opposed to Rock Nation, obviously now being there. It's no knock against Eugene Parker whatsoever. He's seasoned. He's a veteran as an agent. He's exceptional at what he does. We all know this. But at the same time, when you're old school, you sort of have that mentality that it's about business, which we all can appreciate because that's just the smart thing to do. That's the smart way to go. And deviating from that usually doesn't work to your benefit. I don't care in today's society, previous generations, it doesn't matter. Business is business, and that overrules emotion and all of that other stuff. But you're going to have people that play into Dez Bryant's ear by reminding him of his value, what he's worth, and how he shouldn't settle for significantly less anyway than what he is worth. And they are absolutely right to send Dez Bryant that message. Here's where it gets interesting. And you bring up pride. And again, we're not talking racial as in a negative connotation in any stretch. I'm just giving you some insight. When you talk about young black men, what corporate America needs to understand is right or wrong, foolhardy or not, the word respect resonates with a lot of dudes, particularly when they consider themselves to be an individual who has earned it. If you are Dez Bryant, you led the league in touchdowns. You've been obviously a stabilizing force. You're one of the individuals that helped Tony Romo excel the way that he excelled. Because when all else failed, Jason Witten wasn't the only dude that he was able to go to. It was Dez Bryant. As you would say, it was a catch. And because it was a catch, it should have been a catch in Green Bay. They could have very well ended up advancing far deeper in the postseason than they ended up doing. Dez Bryant has a lot to do with that. When you consider the fact that another individual who had a lot to do with it by the name of DeMarco Murray is gone, after carrying the ball 392 times, after having 450 touches, after sitting there and saving some of the duress and stress and strain that ultimately was scheduled to come the way of a Tony Romo. And Tony Romo is preserved, and Jason Witten is preserved. But DeMarco Murray, who was used up like bad furniture for crying out loud, and then tossed to essentially another team because even though he went there as a free agent, he wouldn't have had to. Had you taken care of him, if you're Dez Bryant, you're looking at it from the perspective that brothers who are taking care of you, you ain't necessarily taking care of us. So those are the kind of messages that resonate with the dude at this particular moment in time. We talk about business, but Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the Dallas Cowboys, whether directly or tacitly, indirectly, or whatever the case may be, has given the indication that, you know what, we couldn't take care of DeMarco Murray because we got to take care of other dudes. Well, if you're Dez Bryant, you're saying, who else is a bigger priority than me? So again, that's where the respect comes in. We're not going to say pouting. We're going to talk about his heart. But his heart is about the fact that I'm a Dallas Cowboy. I'm proud to be a Dallas Cowboy. And more importantly, I'm a reliable Dallas Cowboy. I don't have back issues. You understand? You're not wondering whether or not I'm going to play on Sunday afternoon. But the guys that you had questions about, although it's the quarterback position and it's incredibly pivotal, and we understand that, Tony Romo, at the time, had one playoff victory in his career. And he was known, despite his numbers, as somebody who was prone to make big mistakes in big moments, which would impede a team's ability to progress. And they gave this brother $108 million. They did. $55 million guaranteed. You can't then turn around and look at Dez Bryant and talk about it's time for you to sacrifice, especially when you've quietly gone about the business of leaking to those that cover the Cowboys by virtually saying, our issue with Dez Bryant is that we don't know what he's going to do once he has these guaranteed dollars off the field. These are the kind of things that he was hearing. So it's not just about the money. It's about the faith that he is looking for you to show in him because of his level of production and his commitment to excellence. And he warrants that. He deserves that. And if you franchise tag this brother, you are saying he's not worth the risk. And he's going to take it like that, and he is going to be a problem.
Okay, so back to Jerry Jones' mindset. Let us say that Dez says, okay, you have disrespected me. I earned this money and you did not give it to me by this deadline, so we can no longer negotiate for the whole rest of the football season. So Dez says, this is it. I'm missing all of training camp. Do you think that with 2 weeks to go, that he would fold and say, I just miss football too much, I'll take my $13 million and go play?
I don't think that with 2 weeks to go in preseason he would do it. I think that before the regular season begins, he probably would do that. But then you also have to take into consideration, and we can't escape this reality. Football is such a violent sport. If you're wondering about your security, when you believe it was due you, it's one thing to just play your rookie, you come into the league and you got something to prove. It's another thing when you've done it and now your time has come up and it's time to negotiate a new contract for you and it doesn't get done. Then they franchise tag you for an additional season and now you have the specter of injury hovering over you, where you got to go out there and play. You might have some leg issues, some knee issues, some back issues, or whatever the case may be. And where you once were willing to play through all of that, suddenly you're a bit reticent because the organization that you played for, that you've given your heart and soul to, hasn't shown a willingness to reward you for your efforts and your sacrifice. So it's not like he's going to tank it because Dez Bryant is a competitor and he's a rough rider. He's going to go on the field and he's going to try to play to the best of his ability. But if I now have to worry about the fact that a year from now I'm not going to get my money because I may not be healthy, then I'm going to be incredibly cautious and reticent and a bit apprehensive. It's going to showcase itself in my game. And suddenly I'm not going to want to take risks. Suddenly going across the middle to catch a pass, you know what? Give me an out pattern. Throw it out, throw a bomb to me. I'm not trying to go over the middle. I'm not trying to get my legs taken out from under me. I'm not trying to take unnecessary risks because I'm trying to get paid. Tony Romo could take that risk because you paid him. Jason Witt can take that risk because you paid him. The offensive line can take those risks because you paid them. Okay? But you're not paying me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that chance. Okay. That's the issue.
Okay. My bottom line to this discussion is what you reported yesterday. Tom Condon no longer, from what you're hearing, involved as the point person.
No, that was direct. By the way, that was directly from Rock Nation.
Yes.
Yes.
People are negotiating. I don't know. I'm not sure you know how they're going to negotiate. I don't know what hardball they're playing with Jerry Jones. Jerry may not have any option here. He may get pushed into a corner where he'd say, that's just too much. I can't pay that much. I can't go way beyond Calvin Johnson money for this.
But if you're not, but what if you're not asking to go beyond Calvin Johnson? What if you're sitting there and saying that Calvin Johnson's got $44 million in guaranteed dollars? How you gonna come to me with 20? Now, if we had 40 instead of 44, I'm feeling you. Now, okay, we can sit there and waffle and waver and go back and forth. But in the end, if you look at Calvin Johnson and questions about his durability, which you know about, Molly, the fact of the matter is that Calvin Johnson's durability has been, we know Megatron is Megatron. When healthy, he's the best. But the point is that even at his best, there are people who are looking at Dez Bryant and saying Dez Bryant is in that ballpark. So when you consider the fact that Dez Bryant has durability issues over Calvin Johnson, where that's favorable to him, agree. And you combine that with the fact that Calvin Johnson's got $44 million in guarantee, or 48, I think it's 44 or 48. I'm saying if you're Dez Bryant, how you going to come to him with 20 or 25? You've got to get up to 40. I mean,
I agree.
You've got to get up to 40. That is fair.
What you got to do is you got to get this done now.
Yes.
Bottom line.
That's right.
It's such a successful season last year. You don't want to see him take a step back, especially after losing DeMarco Murray. Someone else who has been lighting it up, though, Serena Williams and Jordan Spieth. So Serena won her third major on Saturday. Jordan Spieth, at the ripe young age of 21, is also going for his third major in 1 year, competing in the championship. Some might argue Spieth's incredible run is being overshadowed by one Tiger Woods. Here he is, Tiger, talking about Spieth earlier today. Take a listen.
He's playing well, obviously. He's won 2 major championships and just won last week. Obviously, he's in great form. It's just a matter of going out there and executing his game plan. I mean, that's what he talks about a lot, is formulating a game plan and executing it. And this is a golf course in which you have to do that. You have to execute it and trust it.
All right, so Spieth could make history, Stephen A., but is it still a bigger story if Tiger wins over Spieth?
To me, this is straight out. I'm not going to blame you, Molly. I'm not
don't blame me. I didn't do anything
I'm not going to hold you
They
accountable.
do.
This is all Skip Bayless. You can just steer it, you just sneaky self, just throwing in one of these questions because, oh my Lord, he knows how I am. There is no way that even if Spieth wins 3 straight majors, okay, and literally is on the cusp of capturing 4 in one calendar year, which has not been done. Let me tell you something right now. It still doesn't compare to if Tiger Woods wins this. Do you have any, which you know because you know more golf. I know golf because of you. So I'm going to give you credit where credit is due. Do you have any idea? Do I need to remind you? Has amnesia kicked in and convoluted your brain and you have forgotten how god-awful Tiger Woods has been? I mean, he looks like straight garbage. I mean, Tiger Woods hasn't won a tournament since 2013, hasn't won a major since the U.S. Open in 2008. I mean, just as recently as weeks ago, Skip, he dropped to 241st in the world. 241 in the world, okay, and didn't have a top 10 finish around the world over the last 18 months. His swing is bad. His back is even worse. But Lord knows we got knee injuries, leg issues. He clearly has emotional issues. I don't know whether he needs to see a psychologist privately or does he need to go on national TV with Dr. Phil and hash out his issues. Whatever the case may be, everywhere you turn, Tiger Woods got problems. He's got problems with his swing. He can't keep a coach. He's on his 4th coach. I'm hearing he's about to let Como go and get rid of him, which will make a 5th coach. The swing ain't consistent. The clubs ain't consistent. His health is unreliable. Emotionally, he's warped. And oh, by the way, he's sitting there, and the most profound thing he has said is, I don't have a double ARP card. I'm not retiring. I'm still there. I'm there. I'm right there. Right where? Right where? St. Andrews, you're on the course. We know you're there because we saw footage of you being there. But in terms of your game, it's been going for quite a long time. And then all of a sudden, Tiger Woods comes out of nowhere and wins? And wins the British Open? Oh, my goodness. There's nothing that Spieth can do, even at age 21, even if he wins 3 straight, which would be, his first time since Ben Hogan, 1953, I think. Okay? I mean, even if he does that, the bigger story is clearly Tiger. Because,
like easily?
Easily. Because let me correct. I'm not saying it in terms of golf. You being a avid golfer, golf lover the way that you are. For golf aficionados, sure. I'm talking about in terms of a story, headlines, paparazzi type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Everything from the New York Daily News to the Washington Post to the National Enquirer. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about headline material. It's really, Tiger would clearly be a big story. To golf aficionados, it would be Spieth. But beyond transcending the sport, oh, please. It's not even in the same ballpark as all Tiger. Easily. That's definitely a question out of your ballpark. Because to me, it ain't even a question. Not even a question.
I cannot tell you how much your answer offends me as a golf fanatic. I cannot tell you how your perspective on the sport I love drives me up the trees I usually hit when I play. Because for you, golf is Tiger Woods or it is nothing. That's your perspective on golf.
I'll explain that in a minute, but go ahead.
All right. Your reaction says it all about what's happening right now to Jordan Spieth. Because his performance so far this year is vintage Tiger-esque, but he is not getting the credit for it because his game isn't nearly as spectacular to watch as vintage Tiger's game was back in 2002 when he won the first 2 majors, or that stretch from like 2000 to 2002 when he was the most dominant golfer in the history of this game. But Stephen A. Smith, I know you haven't taken the time to stop and smell these flowers. What Jordan Spieth has done in his first 18 starts of this year is right there with any great streak in all of Tiger Woods' career. Because in Jordan Spieth's first 18 starts this year, he's won 4 times. He's come in second 3 times. He even came in third once. And he won the first 2 majors, and he is now favored, thanks in part to no Rory McIlroy and the British, he is favored to win the 3rd leg of the Grand Slam, as you point out, for the first time since the great Ben Hogan did it in 1953, 62 years ago. And Jordan Spieth, as Molly pointed out to start this off, is 21 years of age. But Tiger Woods' game was captivating. It was scintillating. He was a thunderstorm waiting to happen on the golf course. He was can't take your eyes off riveting. And all I ever hear about Jordan Spieth at age 21, the standard line is, oh, he doesn't do anything great. He just does everything very well. Even though I think he's a great putter, because Tiger Woods in his heyday was the best putter, one of the greatest putters ever. And right now, so is Jordan Spieth for the first 18 starts of the year. I think Jordan Spieth's poise under pressure is great. I'm going to go out on the limb. It's already starting to look all-time great to me, but we need a little more proof there.
Right.
But because he's not Tiger Woods, and he's not captivating, even though I got to say, the TV ratings for that John Deere and the playoff that he won last weekend, they were pretty good. I think he is starting to move the meter. Will he ever move it the way Tiger did? No, because there's nothing startling about his game. He doesn't hit it off the planet. He did hold out his second shot, his third shot on 17 the other day for an eagle. I think he is a dead-eye, mid-iron player.
Right.
So these things, see, you're like, next, show me what else, right?
Allow me to help you out, because you do get a bit emotional about your golf, and I totally understand.
You make me emotional.
I totally understand, and I appreciate where you're coming from, Skip Bayless.
I was the emotional one.
But again, we're speaking factually here, and factually speaking, the question wasn't about Spieth's game. The question was about what's the bigger story. So allow me to enlighten you. Our researcher extraordinaire provides me with this information. Woods' Masters Sunday victory in 1997, and I believe that was age 21, if I remember correctly. You know what the rating was, Skip Bayless? 14.1 PV rating. Did you know that? I don't know. I think you did, because you know all of this stuff.
Well,
second best,
as you well know, it was a sociological breakthrough. First black man to win at Augusta.
Hey, again, I'm going back. Bigger story, not game. See, you talking about the game. The question that Molly so adroitly asked was, the story. The story is about what's most compelling, what galvanizes folks, what generates ratings.
My question.
You understand what I'm saying? Wait. She asked it beautifully. You just tricked her into asking it. I'm just breaking it down to you.
All right.
The second best rating, Skip, was Woods' 2001 victory at Augusta National. That was a 13.3. Now let's go to Spieth. Okay. Won his first Masters in April. What was that number, Skip Bayless? 8.8. You see the difference? It's like 6 full points. So now, what do we get to? What we're talking about is this. You being a golf lover, going to your country clubs or wherever you go in Bristol, Connecticut.
I play at public golf course.
Well, you do that
I'm a man of people.
But let's not act like...
Hollywood, Stephen A.
Please, look at that suit. The man is Hollywood, okay? Let's stop it, all right? We all know what time it is. You might go to the public course in Bristol. You at the country clubs everywhere else. Stop it. Ernestine, maybe call Ernestine now. So here's the deal. By the way, you'll call Ernestine. Thank you so much. Here's the point, Skip Bayless. I tried to tell you this on many occasions. When you look at the sport of golf and you look at a guy like Jordan Spieth, I recall you talking the same exact way about Rory McIlroy. You know, in terms of the greatness, the potential that was there. Could he be the next Tiger? We had that debate right in Bristol on the set. I am simply saying to you, when you talk about all of these guys, you talk about golf. When you talked about Tiger Woods, you talked about so many different things. And it wasn't just his golf. It was the impact he had on our society, how he transcended the sport, etc. Because whether America wants to accept it or not, when we're watching everybody else, we're watching golf. When we watch Tiger Woods, we think about a potpourri of things. Because Tiger Woods was, even though there were those who preceded him, when it comes to Tiger Woods, folks outside of the white community felt welcomed. When it's without Tiger Woods and we're watching golf, a lot of folks, unless you're a golf aficionado, you don't necessarily feel invited. I'm not blaming anybody for that. I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm saying it is a reality. When you are watching all of these other golfers, it just gives the way they are celebrated, the way they are talked about, the stories that circulate, etc. You just get the impression it's that little old boys club. That little cocoon and this is what we do. Now y'all can watch from afar. Y'all can watch from a distance, but this is what we do. Whereas when Tiger is playing, everybody feels invited. And that is why Tiger Woods would be a bigger story than Spieth. Period.
Okay, you forced me to point out again, there's a litany of professional black golfers who came before Tiger who were all very good, and I don't have time to list them all, but I've done it for you before.
I mentioned that because you told me that.
And I'm going to say this again. Maybe my perspective is warped because I grew up on a public course that I just got to play back in my hometown of Oklahoma City called Lincoln Park, Lincoln East and Lincoln West. And a whole lot of black people played on that golf course when I was growing up in the 1960s. And I went back and I saw a whole lot more black people who still play there. So I always thought everybody plays this game. That's my perspective. Your perspective is always to look at golf through the black perspective, and I try to look at golf just from a golf perspective. Is that fair?
That's totally fair. But what I'm saying to you is that if you're growing up in the inner city community and you're not exposed to those kind of things, and a plethora of our society is pretty much from the streets, whether it's white, black, Hispanic, or whatever the case may be. Everyone doesn't live in affluence. As much as we talk about America being a great, great nation, when you talk about, millions upon millions of people being unemployed, underemployed, et cetera, what you are really recognizing is the fact that there are a lot of people in our society that don't have access to what you had access to when you were growing up. So if you're talking about folks who love the game of golf, golf aficionados, etc., of course Spieth is the story. But when you talk about society in general, people who never watched golf, never gave a damn about golf, never felt that golf was inclusionary enough, etc., somehow, some way they watched Tiger, and the ratings show it, which makes him a bigger story than Spieth. Because he's been so god-awful, he's been so pathetic as a golfer, that if you saw him rise from the ashes, it would be the biggest story in golf by far. Spieth wouldn't even be close.
Okay, so if Jordan Spieth wins on Sunday, Stephen A. Smith will yawn.
No. I'll be like this. Nice job. Nice job. Very, very.
That's it.
Great performance. Great performance. Nice job. But I guarantee you this.
What do you do? A golf clap? Or a golf clap?
Let me put it to you this way. I guarantee you that if Jordan Spieth wins, we come in Monday on First Take, and we do probably the first block. But if Tiger won, it'd be 3 different segments in the show.
The All-Star Game is in Cincinnati, where Pete Rose, a.k.a. Charlie Hessel, once led the Big Red Machine in the 70s. Rose will be back on the field tonight to be honored as a part of the Reds franchise 4. Rose, of course, hoping for reinstatement into Major League Baseball by new commissioner Rob Manfred. Mixed feelings on this subject. Former Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda weighed in on this subject, saying, quote, "You have got to be out. He has got to be suspended for life. If you are stupid enough to go out and bet on your own team and bet on baseball, there has got to be something wrong. If my brother did it, I would say the same thing." So that's what Lasorda thinks, but you can't deny the numbers. First all-time in games played, hits, and tied for first in 200 hit seasons. All right, so we got Lasorda's thoughts. Should Pete Rose be eligible for the Hall of Fame, Stephen A?
My position on this matter has been clear from day one. I have always been a proponent of Pete Rose being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think it is absolutely shameful that this society has not forgiven this man. Pete Rose made a lot of mistakes. There's no question about it. He was a liar, a perpetual liar, a serial liar. He was arrogant about it. The late Bart Giamatti and others, Faye Vincent to this day, John Dowd and others, the special investigator that discovered Pete Rose's crimes against the sport, meaning gambling on the sport of baseball, which ultimately led to his lifetime ban. We all understand all of that, but I will keep this in mind, Skip Bayless. Pete Rose received a permanent ban on August 24th, 1989. According to Pete Rose, he received that ban 2 days before his daughter's birth. She is 26 years of age now. This man is still banned from the sport of baseball. When we think about us as a society and how forgiving we have been, we have forgiven killers, we have forgiven molesters, we have forgiven rapists, we have forgiven so many people. And I bring that up in all honesty because opinions about Pete Rose are not limited to the sport of baseball. We have a whole bunch of sanctimonious hypocrites running around this nation talking about how this man shouldn't be forgiven. Yet we see who has been forgiven. I think, and I hate to bring up these names because even though I've been hard on them in the past, again, I believe this is America. This is the greatest country in the world. It's the land of second chances. So I'm happy that Mark McGwire has a job in baseball. Okay? But Mark McGwire cheated. He used performance-enhancing drugs. I'm waiting for San Francisco or somebody, not just to hire Barry Bonds as a hitting instructor during spring training. I'm talking about a full-time job. Okay? I hope that Sammy Sosa gets a job in baseball. I'm looking at Ryan Braun playing in Milwaukee right now where not only was he a cheater, okay, but this dude literally tried to get somebody fired for telling the truth. I'm watching A-Rod being celebrated, okay, when he was a serial cheater. List goes on and on and on. But Pete Rose is #1 in every major category imaginable, not to mention the fact that he has what I believe to be the greatest nickname in all of professional sports history, Charlie Hustle. That means he got there by busting his tail, working his butt off to be as great as he was. I am not in any way glossing over the wrong that he has done and the fact that he deserved to be punished. But I just remember, and I wasn't happy, and I'll leave it at that, but I wasn't happy when ESPN came out with a report just a couple of weeks ago about Pete Rose and documents talking about he bet on the game as a player, you know, the timing of it all. I didn't like it one bit, to be quite honest with you, but it is what it is. We're a news organization as well, and that comes with the territory. But my issue with it is that you got all-stars. Didn't Nelson Cruz test positive for performance-enhancing drug use? And this brother is an all-star and being celebrated and revered. And we're talking about kids showing up at this game to celebrate the home run derby, the all-star game, and all of this stuff. We want to bring that up, okay? But not only will we not forgive Pete Rose, but we keep reminding the world as to why we won't forgive him. So we don't want to let kids forget him and the wrong that he did. But we want to gloss over performance-enhancing drug use going on today. The list goes on and on. I just find it to be incredibly reprehensible, and I just think that it speaks badly of our society, particularly from a hypocritical standpoint, to not forgive this man. If I said that he didn't do it, well, it wasn't that big of a deal, that would be irresponsible on my part. And I know the rules were there in the clubhouse, as they say. The sign, you see it plastered all over the wall, no gambling on baseball lights. I get all of that. But my God, this was 1989. It is 2015. The brother is serving 26 years and counting. The lack of compassion in this country for this man, I find to be incredibly reprehensible. And I just want to take a moment to applaud the people of Cincinnati, because even though I think they've been a bit overbearing in their support of Pete Rose throughout the years, it is more than apropos. Not only do I want to congratulate the city of Cincinnati, but the sport of Major League Baseball for allowing Pete Rose to be celebrated tonight with Joe Morgan, Barry Larkin, and those guys. And it's just a shame.
Ryan Braun also an all-star as well.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's why I brought him up. I'm sorry.
I hope Pete Rose is watching, because you stated his case eloquently. But as usual, as you have for several years on this show, you missed the bigger issue point here. And it's why Pete Rose should never be allowed in the Hall of Fame. I want to state up front, I have absolutely no problem with Pete Rose being honored and hero worshiped tonight by his hometown, the city that loves him most, the city he once owned, the city of Cincinnati, Ohio. I have absolutely no problem with the fact that Pete Rose for years has made lots and lots of money off his baseball greatness, because as we know all the numbers, there is absolutely no argument all-time great. Some people think all-time greatest, and I agree with you about his nickname. But now we know for sure that Pete Rose bet on baseball as a manager and as a player. He repeatedly, over many years, crossed a line in the sport of baseball or the sport of basketball or the sport of football or hockey that you cannot cross. He bet on baseball. He threatened the very credibility of the sport. He threatened the trust that the fans have, that this game is played on the up and up. Because I'm going to remind you, Mr. Smith, that back in those days, there was no internet gambling. Pete Rose had to associate directly with the bookmakers or the representatives of the bookmakers, some bad people. And he risked falling into the trap that many athletes in the past fell into. They got into a gambling debt hole, and to get out of it, they had to throw games. What was the biggest scandal this sport has ever suffered? You can throw at me the steroid era. I will throw back at you the 1990, I know it was way before.
1990 Black Sox
1919 Black Sox scandal.
Got it.
In which members of one team in the World Series opted to take payouts to throw World Series games. You just cannot risk it. And Pete Rose risked it. And trust me on this, even though we don't have any proof that he bet against his team, it really didn't matter to the bookmakers or the gamblers who were watching closely. Because on the days that Pete Rose opted not to bet on his team as a player, they're thinking, aha, he's not betting on today's starting pitcher because he doesn't trust today's starting pitcher against that team. So you're sending messages behind closed doors that way to the gamblers. You're associating with all the wrong people. And what happened was Pete Rose became the poster boy for just how seriously baseball is going to take betting on baseball if you're involved in the baseball game. For years, for decades now, all those 26 years you talked about, the message got sent through the face of Pete Rose for generation upon generation: this will not be tolerated. Actually, Pete Rose has served a great purpose for the game that he loves. He became the essence of what not to do, how not to threaten the credibility of this game. So keeping him out continues to send a message to today's players. You can cross lots of lines here. We'll let you pay your price for performance-enhancing drugs and come back and perform. But you can't cross that line.
2 points I want to make. Number one, you brought up the 1990 White Sox, 1919 Black Sox scandal, okay? Now, obviously, they were fixing games. Are you aware of the fact that, at least according to a few articles that I've read, a couple of them are Hall of Famers? A few of them. So you have members of the Black Sox scandal fixing games that are in the Hall of Fame. So to me, that shreds that argument against
Kennesaw Mountain Landis, the commissioner just threw him out of the game.
I understand he threw him out of the game, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're talking about, there are two issues with Pete Rose: whether or not he should be allowed to return to the game of baseball, be employed in some capacity, and to me, him being on Fox Sports as a baseball analyst is good enough for me. But I'm saying in terms of him as a Hall of Famer, what you are trying to do is make sure that the books completely wipe and eradicate any record of the greatness that Pete Rose displayed on the field. By the way, are the networks willing to give that money back? Is the sport of baseball willing to give the money back that they generated from his exploits on the field when he was doing what he was doing? Whether it's eclipsing Ty Cobb's all-time hits record or doing the things that he's done. No, I'm saying he got paid. I'm talking about the sport and how they benefited from the exploits of Pete Rose. I don't think that they're doing so. And we have to keep that in mind. You've got folks from the Black Sox scandals who are in the Hall of Fame. But we also have to keep in mind this, Skip Bayless. When you talk about Pete Rose and the sport that he helped uplift and what have you, think about this reality. So many times we've heard people say, if Pete Rose had just apologized, if Pete Rose had come clean, if Pete Rose had admitted, etc., he would have been forgiven by now. I'm sorry, then that means that there's wiggle room to whatever policy you want to implement. I'm just telling you what they say. We see it all the time. We see it all the time that he is denigrated and excoriated because of how he conducted himself during the investigation and thereafter. Well, I'm just saying, these are from the people that are directly involved. Whether it's a Faye Vincent, whether it's a John Dowd, well, not Giamatti, but whether it's a Faye Vincent, the John Dowds of the world, and others, they have said the manner in which he conducted. We've got great reporters like Jason Stark, like Buster Olney, like Tim Kirkchin and others who have religiously talked about how part of the problem is how he conducted himself. I am simply saying that gives at least the impression that there's some wiggle room. And the fact that there seems to be no wiggle room when it comes to Pete Rose is because of the vitriol he's generated because of his behavior, not just the gambling. And that's where my point about forgiveness comes in. Let it go. He messed up. Let it go.
You know what? You keep using the word forgiveness. I think everybody forgives him. But no one wants to forget what he did. They don't want to let today's generation forget.
Hall of Famer Pete Rose deserves to be there because he produced on the field. That should never be erased. You don't want to let him back in the game and give him a salary, that's fine. But you should not be allowed to deny the greatness that somebody gave to us for over 20 years in Major League Baseball. That in itself is just as big of a crime to me.
Okay, and last quick point to your Black Sox point. They're not in my Hall of Fame, in my mental Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Okay.
Another summer and another disappointing free agency for the Lakers. The Lakers did draft D'Angelo Russell with the second overall pick and traded for Pacers center Roy Hibbert. They also signed Lou Williams and Brandon Bass. However, the Lake Show did not land any of the prized free agents for yet another offseason. What does this say about the Lakers, Stephen A?
Well, it says that they're a dysfunctional bunch. And I want to be very, very respectful because there's a lot of people in the organization that I have very affectionate feelings for. I like Jeannie Buss. John Black's my man. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people that work for the Lakers organization I've been incredibly friendly with over the years, and I have an incredible level of love and respect for a lot of them. But I just think that Jim Buss is as close to incompetent as they come. And it's not because of his lack of knowledge about the sport. It's because he has allowed his emotions to rule things. Now, in this day and age, it's incredibly popular to point the finger at Kobe Bryant. And he's not to be completely absolved here either. You can't go into a meeting with LaMarcus Aldridge and talk to him about being the Pau Gasol of your Black Mamba and think that that's going to fly. That doesn't work. But that's not the biggest thing, because regardless of the fact that fellas don't feel like they should be privileged and honored to play alongside Kobe Bryant, and they say that he makes them feel that way from time to time, I'm not totally buying that. But he is the Black Mamba. He's a 5-time champion, and if he's a bit arrogant, who cares? Get over it. He's earned it, and he will always be revered by me. Having said all of that, it's amazing how people use that as an excuse to gloss over the ineptitude that has raked through the Lakers franchise like a virus. Jim Buss had Phil Jackson there. He wanted Phil Jackson gone. Okay? Tried to blame it on his daddy and how his daddy didn't want it. Daddy didn't want Phil Jackson running the show, but he didn't mind him as a coach. You get rid of Phil Jackson. Kobe Bryant wanted somebody like a Brian Shaw. Jim Buss decides to hire Mike Brown. You keep Mike Brown for one season. Season number 2, you're struggling. Did he go 0-10, 0-15, 0-20? Oh, no. The first 5 games into the season, they hire Mike D'Antoni, and they get rid of Mike Brown. Well, the problem was you had acquired Dwight Howard in the summer, and you kept telling Dwight Howard that big men, George Mikan, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal. Now you're the next big man in the legacy line. We want you here. We're going to evolve this franchise around you. Well, Dwight Howard said, well, I want Phil Jackson. You don't keep Phil Jackson. You get rid, you don't bring Phil Jackson back. Instead, you bring in Mike D'Antoni, who Skip called Mike Antoni, because take the D out of him, because there's no such thing as defense in Mike D'Antoni's system. Okay? So then after you go to Mike D'Antoni route, Kobe gets hurt. Last game, the second to last game of the regular season. Or like the third to last game of the regular season when they're trying to vie for a playoff spot. Well, Kobe goes down with the Achilles, still goes to the free throw line and shoots that free throw with the bad Achilles, okay, to help win a game against the Golden State Warriors on that Friday night. And then what happens after that? Okay, he can't go. You still got Mike D'Antoni there, all right? And then all of a sudden, you've got to go about the business of making moves, doing trades, whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden, that dysfunctionality comes into the forefront because nobody's anxious to come and play for you. And it's real popular to point the finger at Kobe. But I will remind folks that the Lakers, by and large, had pretty decent players throughout the Kobe Bryant era. And this is after Shaquille O'Neal left. Andrew Bynum and Paul Gasol and Derek Fisher and those boys weren't too shabby. It helped you win 2 back-to-back titles. So you were able to get some talent. All I'm saying is, when I look at the Los Angeles Lakers, I think about Jim Buss. Because to me, if what should happen right now, not starting next season, next summer, right now, Jeannie Buss should fire her brother. Fire him. You're getting your money. It ain't like you're going broke. Okay? You're going to get your money. Okay, because you're a part of the team. It's owned by the family. You got a stake in it. AEG, Anshel, Entertainment Group, they own about 30% of it, I think. But the bottom line is, you're the Buss family. You're gonna get your share. So Jim Buss ain't gonna go broke. But in terms of making basketball decisions, he should be fired now. And you should go out there and get Jerry West, get him to come back, work in conjunction with Mitch Kupchak.
He'll come back?
I'm not sure he would, but but the point is, you got to get basketball people in there. I'm a fan of Mitch Kupchak. I like Mitch Kupchak, but I just think that he's attached to Jim Buss. And Jim Buss reeks of incompetence because he allows his emotions to usurp and supersede his basketball knowledge. And as a result, he has no business running an organization. He should be fired today.
By the way, Jerry West's fingerprints are all over Golden State's championship trophy right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Lakers. I did like the Lou Williams signing. I did.
Yes,
He was
so did
the
I.
Sixth Man of the Year.
So did I. Brandon Bass is not bad out there.
But will Lou Williams, Sixth Man of the Year, translate into Kobe's 6th ring next year?
No,
I don't think so. The how did you say it? Dysfunctionality, I like that you refer to, I did not think would extend to the 2nd pick in the draft, because that's not a free agent. You don't have to entice that guy to come play for you. You get to pick that guy. I fell off my chair while we were on vacation the night of the draft when they did not take Jahlil Okafor with the 2nd pick in the draft. The guy you loved all year, even though I was a Towns guy. You were an Okafor guy.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know who made this pick. Did Jim Buss make this pick or did Mitch? I have no idea.
Chances are Jim Buss.
Well, if you're right, then that's utter dysfunctionality. Because I'm going to go on record one more time, because I said it before we went on vacation. Emmanuel Mudiay will turn out to be a much better point guard than D'Angelo Russell will turn out to be in the National Basketball Association. And I learned a long time ago, don't put too much summer stock in the summer league. But have you been checking out D'Angelo Russell?
Yes.
I told you before.
8 turnovers last night.
Yeah, and 7 the game before. So he now has 20 turnovers in 3 games to 10 assists. So 20 to 10, that's a 1-to-2 ratio. Stephen A., I told you, I watched 3 games late in the year just to check this kid out at Ohio State. I told you, I watched Wisconsin, I watched Michigan State, and I watched Arizona in the NCAAs. I did not see an explosive athlete who could dominate in the NBA. I did not see the 2nd pick in the draft. The great Larry Brown continued to say all the way up to draft night, Mudiay's the best player in the draft. I couldn't believe your Knicks didn't take Mudiay. They took your guy Porzingis.
I wanted them to take Justice Winslow or Willie Cauley-Stein.
All right. Well,
who's been balling in the summer league, by the way.
Just remember I said this. Mudiay, who, by the way, the other night had 20 and 10 against Sacramento, albeit in a summer league game, he's going to be a player. And one day you'll look back as a Laker fan and say, we could have had Mudiay. You could have had a lot of people.
Here's the thing. To point to what we're talking about with the Lakers and Jim Buss and those guys. The number 2 pick in the draft being that of D'Angelo Russell, who has received rave reviews from the perspective of his court vision, his ability to run a show, a floor orchestrator. They say the best is yet to come. We'll see. My thing is this, Skip. You took him because you led us to believe that you had to have a deal for a big man in place. So the fact that you have, Not only the Marcus Aldridge was insulted by your presentation.
He was.
Okay? Tyson Chandler didn't go there. Nobody. Not only that, Greg Monroe passed up on you to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. The fact of the matter is the Lakers are no more. And again, Jeannie Buss has to step up and deal with the issue that is her brother. I would even be in support of her taking Phil Jackson off the Knicks' hands and bringing him back to L.A. as some kind of employee. Fine, just go. You want to be in L.A. anyway. He looked so comfortable there at the Summer League last night. Did you see Phil Jackson with his shirt? He looked so comfortable. Just so comfortable. Out west where he wants to be, really. Where he belongs. Okay? Clearly I don't want to be in New York. All right? I mean, he just looked so comfortable out there. Just go that route or get Jerry West back. But as long as Jim Buss is there, the Lakers are just not attractive. And by the way, being political a little bit, 12.3% state income tax rate. I believe that's it. That is about 12.3%. So you combine that with the 39.6% federal tax, that's about 52% of your money coming out of your pocket if you're in Los Angeles. Just a thought.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Florida State President John Thrasher met with the football team on Monday in the wake of two separate incidents that saw third-string quarterback DeAndre Johnson dismissed from the team and leading running back Dalvin Cook suspended from the team after misdemeanor charges for incidents involving assaults on women in Tallahassee bars. Thrasher said he told the team that playing football for the Seminoles was a privilege, not a right, and that players will be held accountable for their actions. FSU coach Jimbo Fisher met with the team on Saturday. ESPN has not confirmed this, but according to a blog in the Tallahassee Democrat, word is Fisher banned his players from local bars. So is banning players from local bars or bars in general a good idea?
Stephen A. Smith? Obviously, I think it would be a great idea that would send a strong message, even if they just tried it for one football season at Florida State.
Okay.
But here we go again. Molly probably doesn't know this, but this has been a long-running soapbox theme of mine on this show that this man has constantly ridiculed me over. Okay. But I have said for years and years, dating to 2004 on this show, that I do not believe that any athlete, pro or college, should risk being in a strip club or a nightclub or a college bar after midnight. I think it's even more dangerous than riding motorcycles or skydiving or bungee jumping or whatever daredevil activity you would engage in. And you have never agreed with me. But day after day after day, I either pick up the newspaper or turn on the early Sports Center, and I hear of another incident involving yet another athlete that happened at a nightclub or a bar, often at or near closing time. And Stephen A. Smith, I'm stuck on this. Athletes, especially today, more and more, are targets. And when you throw them or they allow themselves to be part of a volatile mix involving men and women who are often intoxicated or using drugs, in some cases carrying weapons, you risk altercations with frustrated athletes who are jealous of you or all kinds of people with bad intentions. I'm going to say it again. I have no problem with partying, but why not, if you're a star in college or pro football, let's say, why not party in private? Why not invite everyone over to your place?
Amen.
People that you know. You can control your environment at your place or another place that you would rent out for the night, because that would be eminently safer than a high-risk, volatile mix at some bar full of people who have no idea what they're doing at that moment.
Bear with me. Hopefully y'all can give me a little extra time with this, because I need to preface my comments by telling a little story involving Skip and I.
Okay.
Long before we decided to do First Take, before this man asked me to do the show with him, which I'm still honored to this day and will forever be honored that he asked me.
Smart move.
Skip Bayless and I were doing something on SportsCenter on Sunday mornings called Old School, New School. And we were in different studios. And Skip came out and said, with the great Bob Lee hosting the segment, that he believes that players shouldn't be allowed to be out after 11 o'clock at night. And I said that midnight. I think it was 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And I sat up there, and I'm literally laughing like, how old are you, Skip? How old are you? And I come out of the studio thinking that it was just a joke. And Skip looked at me and looked around and said, I'm serious. You know, and I knew then. And I said, this brother's different. But the interesting thing about this show is that there have been plenty of occasions where I thought that Skip was just out there. Only to come around and say this man is right. And this is one of those situations. The fact of the matter is, everything that Skip just uttered out of his mouth is correct. It's gotten to a point now where it's hazardous. And I'm not trying to be as old school as he is, because Lord knows, even though I've never really been into the club scene or anything. I know how to party. I know how to have a good time. It's gotten ridiculous out here, and it's far dangerous. When I think about, however, this situation with these Florida State guys, Johnson and Delvin Cook, it's inexcusable. They're lucky they're not in jail, particularly in the case of Johnson, because there's video of him striking that woman. He should be ashamed of himself. I know he's on Good Morning America talking to Michael Strahan. You made some mistakes, whatever the case may be, and I'm certainly not sitting there and trying to say that your life should be over and it should be ruined. But there's a price that needs to be paid, because the message has to be sent. And I'm reading these reports, Skip Bayless, and I understand that as a black man, I have an obligation, as far as I'm concerned, to my people to point out that this is a problem that Major League Baseball has historically ignored, that there are white players that have been involved in domestic abuse situations, from the Chuck Knoblauchs of the world. The list goes on. And by the way, at no time in the last quarter of a century has there been a commissioner-level sanction against any player for domestic violence, or manager. Bobby Cox is another one, formerly of the Atlanta Braves. I mean, he's had some problems, so we can't ignore that. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm a black man. And forgive me if I have a special affinity and a special elevated level of sensitivity when it comes to young black men who don't seem to know how to act like they have some damn common sense. And for those folks out there in the black community who are going to get offended, allow me to read you a particular stat that my researcher provided to me this morning. I believe it came out of USA Today. Are y'all ready for this?
Yes. Since
2000, the last 15 years, and I'm saying this because I got my best friend from high school, Jeff Brown, and my godson, Nicholas, sitting right over there, who I love dearly. And that boy, who is as great as they get, special kid. You look at these numbers, and you're looking at athletes out there saying, what are you thinking? Do you realize the kind of lives that you could potentially affect? It ain't going to happen to him, because his daddy there. But it's going to happen to a lot of people. Let me read you this number. Of the reported 96 NFL players arrested for domestic violence in the last 15 years, 2 are white. 94 of 96 people arrested for domestic violence are black. Black, all over the damn place. You know this. You may not know that number, but you know the news. You see the stories. You see the kind of things that are happening. You see the kind of information resonating and disseminating through our communities and through the world at large. You realize the image. There's a whole bunch of young black men out there that know how to act, that ain't doing this kind of stuff. But because of the actions of the ignorant, idiotic, stupid, irresponsible, heinous few, you tainting us. And I got a problem with that. 94 of 96 arrests in the NFL for domestic violence in the last 15 years are black. We got a problem. And you can't have two brothers from Florida State contributing to that problem, or another dude from Alabama contributing to that problem, or Ray McDonald in the NFL, or Greg Hardy in the NFL, or whatever, contributing to that problem, and don't say anything. This is a problem. And it's a problem for the black community, because there's a small number, but you tainting the many because you giving the impression that black men act this way. And by and large, Skip, we're raised by our mamas. There's far more than giving credit for raised by their daddies, too. I would know that. But the point is, we are definitely raised by our mamas. Most of us ain't doing that. But the few fools who are doing it are giving the impression that this is something black men do. We don't do that. We know better. And somebody has to say something about this. And let me tell you something. There will be nobody more strongly against these black men than me for putting their hands on women. Because you ain't going to taint the rest of us by your insidious actions. That needs to be said.
I appreciate the stance that you're taking on national TV. I will point out, obviously, in the National Football League, the percentage of black players is obviously a lot higher than white players.
That's right.
But your point is a strong one.
By the way, Major League Baseball, that I brought that up, it's black players that were questioned or arrested for domestic violence in the sport of Major League Baseball, too, and that ain't majority black.
Outside of LaMarcus Aldridge, just about every top free agent re-signed with their own team this year. So what will Kevin Durant do next year when he hits the market? CBSSports.com is reporting that execs around the league expect him to stay put in OKC and that there are only a handful of teams that can legitimately think they're an options. Lakers, Mavs, Wizards. Stephen A., where do you think he'll wind up?
You know, I really don't know. If I had to bet, I would say I would give the edge to Oklahoma City because of the personality that Kevin Durant is combined with the money that they can pay him. They can give him more than anybody else will give him. More importantly, if he's healthy, there is no negotiation. He gets the max, every penny of it. You know, I mean, he's Kevin Durant, for crying out loud. Missing 55 games, having bad feet, clearly an off year last year. He still averaged 25.4 points and 6.6 rebounds a game. This brother's the real deal. And I'm talking about on 51% shooting from the field and 40% from three-point range. All of this noise we make about San Antonio and Golden State and others, it's legit. But please understand that Kevin Durant is universally recognized as the second best player in the world when healthy and unquestionably the most prolific offensive force in the modern day era. Nobody has his offensive arsenal. Being 6'10", 6'11", with a 7'6" wingspan, has a handle, mid-range game, shoots about, what is it, 85% to 90% from the free throws, has 40% shooting range, can pull up from 30. I mean, this brother is an offensive machine, the likes of which we have never seen as far as I'm concerned, because of his size and awkwardness and the fact that he has that range. The question is whether or not he's going to be healthy. And more importantly, one of the things we don't discuss enough, he has a very close relationship with Russell Westbrook, regardless of what people want to think. What's Russell Westbrook going to do 2 years from now? Because that may have a lot to do with what Kevin Durant decides to do. And so I think about that. I think about South Beach being an option, because South Beach, no state income tax in the state of Florida, being in Miami with the rest in the Eastern Conference. I mean, look, you're talking about that as a possibility, staying in Oklahoma City or going home. The reason why I give Oklahoma City the edge, however, is because Kevin Durant is one of those quiet brothers. Not that he's quietly, he doesn't talk, but he's insulated to some degree. He ain't into the splash and the flash. That's not his. That's not his M.O. I think if Rock Nation has their druthers, they'd want him in a bigger, better market because they represent him too, and that could potentially have some influence, even though at the end of the day they're going to do what he wants them to do. But I think the flip side is you're going to see people bringing up the nation's capital, L.A., New York, and South Beach. Those would be options outside of Oklahoma City. But I would still give Oklahoma City the edge because of Kevin Durant's personality and the fact that he doesn't mind being in the small market, quiet place, and it's not like it's going to cost him any money because the NBA, with the parity and the small market teams being allowed to and able to spend, you know, with TV contracts and everything else, sort of equaling the playing field. Kevin Durant is going to still get his money, so it's not going to cost him a dime. And remember, he still has the $200 $265 million deal that Nike matched from Under Armour. So the brother's not starving by any stretch.
Heck no. Can you see him shopping himself, as in allowing everyone to wine and dine him and doing a tour of America?
I can't see Kevin Durant doing that. I see Kevin Durant figuring out over this next season whether he wants to stay. Now, if he goes other places, it's not because he wants to be wooed like DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard and people like that. It's because he genuinely doesn't know what he wants to do, but he ain't into that.
Okay, here's my guess, and it is just a guess, though it's an educated guess. I agree with you that Kevin and Russell are very close. They are brothers, quote unquote. But I believe that a year from now, Kevin Durant will decide it's just no longer fun attempting to play with Russell Westbrook on the basketball court. After Russell Westbrook, without Kevin, went on that triple-double MVP-style tear through the second half of the year, I think Russell went over the edge into Russellmania. And I love to watch him. I love him as a player, but man, he loves to shoot that rock. And it is very difficult and will become increasingly difficult as Kevin comes off his foot injury. And every time we talk about a foot, you know, you and I know that's dangerous stuff. Will it ever come quite back? We don't know for sure. We'll find out. But it's just so hard for him and Russell to mesh, especially when push comes to shove in big games. Who takes the big shot? Again, Russell has a good side to him, and he's got a not-so-good side to him. He's got a real strong Russell side to him. And I think last year was bad for Russell because he got a taste of those triple-doubles. And I think it will become harder and harder for Kevin and Russell, two superstars, to mesh egos and games on a nightly basis. And I think Kevin will finally decide that he either wants to go home or he wants to go to South Beach. I am not going to rule out going to the Big Apple just because of Jay-Z and company. I know the Knicks, as you say, are an atrocity right now, and they would have to show Kevin Durant that they're going to do this, that, and the other to get back off life support.
I know for a fact that that's Carmelo's target, no question about it, and Carmelo is going to have to recruit like he never has in his life. I just think the odds are stacked against him because of the town and how it doesn't mirror what Kevin Durant prefers from a lifestyle perspective. South Beach, obviously, for personal reasons, because I love South Beach. I'm never going to be mad at anybody for going to South Beach. But I got to admit to you, if I had my druthers, it might be too much for him because it's home. But I would love to see Kevin Durant in the nation's capital with Bradley Beal and John Wall.
I'm with you.
If that happened, all Washington, meaning Ernie Grunfeld, Eddie Tapscott, and Tommy Shepard and those boys, all they would need is a rebounder. They certainly wouldn't need anybody to shoot. All you need somebody to rebound and play defense. You don't even need to be a part of the offense. Between Bradley Beal, John Wall, and Kevin Durant, there is no question that you don't need anything else offensively. And those brothers in the nation's capital would be special. But I think it happens, Skip, if Russell Westbrook does one or two things. Either gives the indication that he would prefer that it's his own show, or he gives indications that he wants to leave to go home himself, go to L.A. Because Russell Westbrook at the Staples Center in purple and gold, let me tell you something right now, that changes everything. That changes everything. Everything for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm talking post-Kobe era. Russell Westbrook in L.A.? Woo, that would be special. Talk about a one-man wrecking crew. It would be Russell Westbrook.
Well, he might be a one-man wrecking crew.
No, if you get him, once Kobe's going, you get Russell Westbrook, you got cap space. You can build around that or whatever, where Russell Westbrook clearly is the number one option. That energy, Russell Westbrook is one of the most vicious, heartless basketball players I have ever seen in my life. This brother has no mercy. No, he will destroy you. My biggest regret watching these playoffs is that I did not get to see him against Steph Curry. Because with all the talk about Steph Curry, and you know how much we both love Steph Curry, had he went against Russell Westbrook would have been like, y'all talking about him like that, like I don't matter? Russell Westbrook would have went at that brother, him and Klay Thompson, like you've never seen.
So Russ could turn you into a Jim Buss fan. Is that possible?
Never. Never. I respect the Lakers organization in terms of what they used to be. And Jim Buss, as a man, I just think his emotions get in the way, and I think that he is an atrocity to Lakers Nation, and he should be fired today and just given his money and to go on with his life. He has no business running a basketball operations.
So as you know, here in LA, it is ESPYs week, and over in Cincinnati, the 2015 MLB All-Star Week is underway. Last night, the Home Run Derby kicked off, and with 30 seconds to break a tie, hometown favorite Todd Frazier walked away with the Derby title. The event took on a new format this year that made it much more exciting. So take a look. The big change was the introduction of brackets in a single elimination tournament with 3 rounds. Players also had 4 minutes to hit as many home runs as possible. That's the new format, Skip. Are you into it?
Stephen A. Smith, I have always liked the Home Run Derby. In fact, I've often liked it a little more than I liked the actual All-Star baseball game. Last night, I fell back in love with the Home Run Derby because last night, Stephen A. Smith, a baseball endeavor, actually had a clock on it. And it actually had NBA, NFL-style pace and momentum and escalating, building drama and excitement, coming to a huge show-stopping conclusion with the hometown hero winning. Todd Frazier in the first 3 rounds won with late rallies, walk-off home runs 3 different times. Stephen A. Smith, nobody stood taking pitches last night because you couldn't afford to. You had 4 minutes and you could hit a couple of home runs over 425 feet that would give you 30 extra seconds. It was a beautiful thing to watch because I couldn't take my eyes off it because the scenery kept changing. Head to head, head to head, head to head. I didn't have to watch a Josh Hamilton at Yankee Stadium hit 28 home runs in the first round and eventually lose the competition. Because all of a sudden, I got to see Jock Peterson put on a Hello World display. This kid's going to be a big star. I know people only in L.A. with the Dodgers know about him, but he has long, lanky, easy power and guts and grit. And I got to see him go head-to-head for the championship with the hometown hero who eventually prevailed. It was a beautiful thing to watch, and all of a sudden, I can't wait until next year because I think they found the perfect format for this competition.
Let me be very, very careful about what I'm about to say here because I appreciate the sport of baseball just like because of you, I appreciate the sport of golf. Because of my boy Jeff Brown, I appreciate the sport of baseball. Him and my daddy, those are the 2 guys that have, have gotten me loving baseball all of these years. I mean, I grew up watching. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. As you well know, from Reggie Jackson, the list goes, Chris Chambers, Greg Nettles, the list goes on and on, Willie Randolph, all of these guys. Excuse me. And I think about the All-Star game that's scheduled to take place tonight. You know I love my man Andrew McCutcheon. I love that brother. Interviewed David Price on my radio show yesterday. Mike Trout.
By the way, Vanderbilt University.
Yes, I know that. Yes, I did. I didn't bring that up to him, by the way, because he's far more recognizable now that he's in the pros as opposed to at Vanderbilt. But that's a different story for another day. Well, you know, listen, they were kind enough. I gave a speech there, quite honestly. So,
I know about that.
They treated me very, very well.
They nearly won back-to-back national baseball
championships. That's right. We ain't talking about their basketball, though. Smart moves, okay? But here's the deal. Love Bryce Harper, love Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, have loved them for years. Looking forward to tonight's All-Star game, even though I'm ticked off that Scherzer isn't starting. He started Sunday. Nationals, whether it's the Nationals or him, clearly he didn't want to pitch in the All-Star game. That bothers me, but I'm still looking forward to the game. This home run derby, I know that, listen, how can I put this? I love listening to Chris Berman. I mean, he's excitement personified. I mean, when they hit those home runs, the wiffle ball playing that they do, I mean, it seems like, I mean, you think that Chris Berman is reminding us of how, how Mark McGwire passed Roger Maris's single-season home run record, or Sammy Sosa, hitting home runs while they were chasing Roger Maris's single-season home run record. That's how titillating and that's how exciting Chris Berman, Boomer, makes it. The home run derby itself, damn it ain't popular, but I'm going to say it. It is a complete waste of my time. I have no interest in it. It does not interest me. It is a waste of my time. I turned it from that last night and turned on Law and Order. I have no interest. No interest. What I did. That's right, I did it. Somebody got to say it. Somebody got to say it. I mean, listen, you're throwing the ball up. I mean, listen, okay, I know they sped it up a little bit. Now there's no outs. You got 4 minutes to hit as many home runs as you possibly can. If you hit it 400 125 feet or more. Wow, we're going to add 30 seconds to the competition so you can have a shot to hit more home runs. Oh, stop it. I mean, please. Your minus one. Look, my boy Jeff over there, I'm trying to tell you, Jeff can show up.
He's getting a lot of TV time. We ought to get him up here on the set.
So he can come up if he wants. Let me tell you something right now. My man Jeff Brown.
Jeff likes it.
My man Jeff Brown can join the home run derby and compete in it. It's nothing.
No, he couldn't.
It's nothing.
No, he
I mean,
couldn't.
please, listen, Todd Frazier.
Listen,
Todd Frazier, third baseman, Cincinnati, wins the contest last night, hits 15 home runs in the final round. I'm happy for you. Bravo. Bravo. I'm so touched. By the way, very, very touching part of it all when you get this kid, Chris Bryant. His father, Mike, who was an aspiring baseball player, couldn't make it, but, he had an opportunity to be this batting practice pitcher for Chris Bryant, which is very touching. Beautiful, beautiful, touching story. Something like that, I'm not making fun of that. I totally get that. That's special. But the actual home run derby, everybody, 45,000 people show up. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Enjoy yourself. But watching it on TV, for me, did absolutely nothing. I turned it and watched Law and Order. I'm trying to tell you.
If
that's what I did.
told me that you turned it off to go to an L.A. party,
Man,
I'd buy that.
I watch
you're in your hotel room watching Law and Order in Los Angeles, California.
Hey. Don't you dare make fun of that. Other than General Hospital, I got to watch my Law and Order. What's the matter? Scandal was the off-season. Well, listen, I'm going to be back in L.A. Don't you worry. L.A.'s not going anywhere. God willing, I'm going to be back. And I have partied enough in my lifetime in L.A. Ain't no big deal. But the home run derby, Skip Bayless, doesn't move me. To me, why you not? If you can hit 95 mile per hour fastballs, why can't you hit woofah balls being thrown right down the middle at 70 miles, 50 miles an hour? There's no challenge for these. It's just a matter of who hits more than the other, but it's not a challenge that don't run. Doesn't move me.
Listen,
Please.
Skip, it's in Cincinnati. He's not into it.
Anything outside the New York Yankees, he's not into.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
I went everywhere in that mall looking for my mama. My mama wasn't even in the mall no more. Found my mama in the parking lot, back and back. I said, oh, there she goes. Mama! I'm sorry, Mama. I thought you had a ride home. The car is too full.
Our next guest is one of the funniest men alive. One of the funniest comedians out there, Chris Tucker, and you have a new comedy special out on Netflix, available, right? Chris Tucker Live. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Got up early and everything, man. I didn't know that.
Early, man.
When I saw you in those Friday movies, you didn't seem like somebody that was interested in getting up early.
Hey, man, I knew I was coming to see y'all, man. I was excited.
All right.
I was excited.
He was hyped. He was ready to go. All right, let's talk about this new project here. How did it all come about?
I'm excited about it. I started out as a comedian. A lot of people don't even know I'm a comedian. My movie career took off, and I was doing movies for the longest. And it's always been in my heart, though, so I always wanted to go back and do a special because I grew up watching great comedians like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. So this is something I always wanted to do. So I'm glad it's out there now, and people the world could see it. So.
Quick movie question. Do fans ask you more about the rush hours or about Friday?
You know what? The rush hours, because the rush hour went all over the world. So wherever I go in the world, people was like, you going to do another rush hour? You going to do another rush hour? So that, and then they asked Jackie Chan the same thing, too. But Friday's here, and all over the world, too. People want to, they love that movie. So it's a good thing.
There's deep, deep love for that movie.
Yeah. Because, everybody in that movie, we were all just starting, and that was our first big break, and it just came together, and it had a lot of heart in it, because when we wasn't filming, it was the same thing. We was having a lot of fun on the set.
Big Boy, Tiny, Ice Cube, the whole crew. It was lovely. It was lovely, no question about it. But I got to ask you this, though, because, they're talking about there might be a Rush Hour 4. I watched all 3. I need to see another one coming down. I need to see 4.
Well, call Warner Brothers, man, because I call them every day. I can use another $20 million. Call them up, man.
That's right. That's right.
Jackie use another $40 million?
Yeah, Jackie, man. I just saw him in Beijing because I took my son out there because my son is studying Mandarin, so we went out there and we had a good time. So we're talking about doing something else, if it's another rush hour or something else. So we had a good time out there. I went all the way to Beijing. He's like, what you out here for?
That's right.
I came out here to see you, man. What you thinking, man? You're the only person I know in Beijing.
Exactly.
Jackie owned everything out there, man. Everything. He's like, you like hotel? I said, hotel? No, it's my hotel. I own hotel. I said, God, I got to do my movie.
That's right.
He took me. He owned all the restaurants. Yeah. We went out every day. He said, you want to go to Italian? I said, no, I want Chinese food, man. That's why I came to China. I want some Chinese food. That's right. We had a good time, though.
I understand you actually like something that I like, the San Antonio Spurs and what they've been doing.
I love the Spurs, man. And now they got Aldridge, man. They're going to be off the hook, man. They tried to get me, but I told them I don't know if I could fit it in.
So do you like the way some of the older players, such as Tim Duncan, taking far less money so some of the younger players can make money?
Now, be careful before you ask that question, because you get $20 million a film.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I just did a movie with Ang Lee, who directed Life of Pi. I didn't get $20 million, and I was working, I worked with an Oscar-winning director, and I didn't care what they paid me because I knew he was a great director and the movie would be good. And then when I did The First Friday, I only made like $10,000. I didn't care because that was my first movie I had a break. It's a big break. I didn't care about the money. The money came afterwards, you know. First Rush Hour, I didn't make 20, but yeah, I did it, you know, the first Rush Hour I did great. And then after that, Rush Hour 2, then, you know, the money came. So you can't put the cart before the horse. So I love what these guys, they're smart to get, you know, forget about the money. Money will come if you do a great job.
Well, here's my problem with that. You know, being the capitalist that I am. I guess for me personally, what I think about is you can do what you're doing for years and years to come because physically, you know, you can handle that. Yeah. These guys have a short window to make to reach their earning potential. So if you're passing up on dollars, it's not like it could potentially be there for you down the road.
But it comes a point, like Tim Duncan done made all the money.
That's different. Tim Duncan's different.
He can't spend all the money.
Tim Duncan's different. But he gets on it because of Kobe. Because Kobe took the money.
Kobe took the money. Well, you know, that's exceptions. Like Kobe is Kobe. He's going to get the money. But you see what's happening now. He don't have a lot of players that's as great as him.
Thank you.
So sometimes you got to take less money to win, and in the end of the longevity, you'll make all that money and more.
Yeah, but the Los Angeles Lakers had plenty of money in cap room and still couldn't get anybody to come. So Kobe's supposed to be broke and with a scrub team. At least get something.
I would have took, if I was Kobe, I'd have took less money to get the baddest players in the world and made that money somewhere else. I would.
Tim Duncan is going to make $5 million. Kobe will make $25 million. And the message Kobe is sending is, I will be the man until I am finished. And Duncan is saying, I want all you to be the men. I'll take a back seat here. That's why LaMarcus said, oh, I want to come play with my idol, Tim Duncan. LaMarcus was not pleased with the interview session involving Kobe Bryant.
That's correct. But my response to that, Chris, would be, Tim Duncan's playing in San Antonio for Greg Popovich and the Spurs organization. I think you could have gotten Kobe to take less if you had an organization like that instead of one being run by Jim Buss. How about that?
That's a good point.
You're from Atlanta.
I'm from Atlanta, that's right. Hawks all day.
How do you feel about your Hawks?
I love the Hawks. They had a great year. They're going to come back. I think they're going to even be better this year. Coming up.
How?
You know, because they're you know, they're going to get better and better.
They lost DeMarre Carroll. All they did, he left for Toronto, and Tiago Splitter has come from San Antonio to Atlanta. Is that what you're telling me, that Atlanta's going to be better because they got Tiago Splitter?
They didn't even tell me about that. Okay, that's a problem. Because they could have told me before I went to Beijing about that.
Okay, quick thought on your Falcons. Do you have high hopes or low hopes?
I have high hopes on the Falcons because I think, you know, Atlanta's just a great city. I'm from Atlanta, as everybody know, and I think they're gonna, you know, the team is gonna step up. And we got the new stadium coming. It's all green too, brand new stadium, all green.
Nice.
And I think we're gonna do good.
You got CJ Spiller too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, that's very nice and touching. C.J. Spiller, you got a new coach in Dan Quinn. Julio Jones, you're hoping him and Roddy White are both healthy. Matt Ryan, yes. Do you really have a running game? Because Spiller's relatively small. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I like Spiller, but I don't know if he can sit there and handle the load.
New coach, defensive-minded coach. That's where they need help. They need to be tougher.
And I say same old Matt Ryan. Not a big fan.
I like Matt Ryan.
Just good enough to disappoint you in the end.
No, I think that would be Mark Sanchez, not Matt Ryan.
Well, he's better than Mark Sanchez, but I don't know if he's that guy.
Mark Sanchez.
What I say, Mark Sanchez is a tease. He has a little bit, a few moments, and then, you know, right when he gets you hyped thinking that you could expect something from him, he plummets. Matt Ryan, I think that he's a product of the people around him. If guys aren't healthy, or the offensive line isn't protecting him, or the running game ain't giving you anything, then Matt Ryan ain't worth the $20 million a year he's getting. But if you give him the requisite weapons, I think he'll show up. I think the biggest problem with Atlanta is the defense.
I hope we go to the Super Bowl this year. I went last year off the hook, you know. And I met Brady and I met Russell Wilson. Both of those guys are great, so I wasn't going for, I was like in the middle. Because I met Brady at one of Jordan's golf tournaments in the Bahamas when he used to do it. And he was like, "What's up, Tuck?" And I was like, I turned around, I thought it was a brother. I said, that's me. We were cool ever since.
Wow.
I thought it was a brother.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we are again live from here in Los Angeles on Wednesday. Bull star Jimmy Butler will join the desk, so get ready for the ESPYs tomorrow night with some First Take tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on The Deuce. Not much time left in today's show. It's a fun show, guys. Very, very spirited. A little fired up, the debate. I mean, I thought it was.
What we do.
Yeah.
What we do.
Okay.
I just hope my friend Stephen A. Smith doesn't party too hard tonight, stays out of trouble, and is here bright and early in the morning.
He's watching Law and Order. He has no plans.
Listen, man, I'm chilling. I'm behaving myself.
Room
Yeah,
service.
I swear. I swear.
Yeah, I think it's all an act.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I can act from time to time. My man Eric Braden, Young and the Restless, tells me that all the time. Says I can show up on Young and the Restless or General Hospital.
We got to go. That'll do it from us here. First Take in LA. Again, Jimmy Butler will be with us here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And everybody's going to get a good night's sleep here, apparently.
I think.